Rod Knight's here, Memories of Altitude. As you see, I'm standing in front of a table with a lot of gear, and mostly everything here is for a Mavic Pro. I have 3 controllers, 2 Mavic Pros, a flotation device, carry case, batteries, and lens. Well, and then you got these 2 boxes here, which are what I'm going to focus on talking about today. I also have this nifty little thing for carrying your drone, mainly for recording. And the way this thing works is you stick your phone right here and clamp it onto the battery. Do this one right here and I'll show you. You undo the legs, clamp it down, and you just do like that. And that way you got a handheld to do 4K videos or take pictures with. So you put your phone right here so that way, and you hook it up to your Wi-Fi setting on your drone. Uh, and then it just snaps off that quick and put it right back. Now, this thing right here is pretty much almost the same thing, except for this has got the handles on it instead of just holding it by this one thing, which in a way it kind of feels like you could drop it at any moment because it doesn't have nothing holding it. The only thing it's got is where the legs go across it. And this thing is 3D printed. Just like this right here, this is 3D printed. I made this myself. And make sure the floats stay on. I taped it up and it works perfectly. Uh, yes, I do have a 3D printer, but it's an older version, so it don't print out very well. Also, this battery holder. Sometimes it don't like to hold the batteries in there real well, but this is 3D printed, and the way this works, it clips onto your belt like this. That way, if you're out on the field, instead of having to dig for batteries in a case, whatever, you're able to carry at least 3 batteries on there. Now these, I printed each one of these separate, and then it's got a tongue and groove adapter, so you can actually put as many as you want. If you want 5 of them, you can put 5 of them going across. Now the only problem with this is it is, once you add batteries to it, it does get heavy. So having 3 batteries is about as much as you really want to hold. Some people might be able to do 5, no problem. But me personally, 3 was good enough. And then I got 2 in either drone, and I also got an extra one that a buddy of mine's using right now. He uses it for a charger. um, Now, first things first, this thing right here, StarTech, or Trek, STARTRC, they make pretty good products. If y'all are familiar with the katana for the Mavic Pro, let these vehicles go by real quick. If you're familiar with the katana for the Mavic Pro, same thing. Except for this setup is cheaper. You got this right here, and of course it comes with like bicycle grips. That's all these right here are. So if you want to change them out and put your own custom bike grips on it, I'm pretty sure you can get away with it. And then of course it comes with the top piece, which is sort of like this one. It's got the tongue and groove for where the upper arms go across it, and then the phone holder, which goes inside your tongue and groove right here. Now the way this thing right here works is any that know about the katana, same thing. You open it up, you slap this piece in, and you close the legs across the tongues. Then this has little grooves right here, okay? The little grooves go between these two sensors. And it just slips on just like that. And then you got little screws on it. Now this can be time consuming sometimes. So you definitely want to make sure you allow yourself, if you gotta use this on a job somewhere, you want to make sure you allow yourself enough time to get everything set up. The way I do it is I only tighten one. I don't tighten the first one all the way down. I usually just get it just in and then stick the other one in like so. And then you just tighten them down. Just good and tight right there. Take this piece, slide it in. Then voila, there you go. You can either hold it like this right here with both hands, or you can hold it with your single hand. You got your phone that goes there. The only thing I wish this had was a setup for a tablet. Now, when you're trying to operate the camera, it's a little difficult because everything at this point, you don't have a controller. You have to use the phone, and you don't, for some reason, when you go to Wi-Fi, you can't scroll down using your finger like you normally could, like you're using a remote. You have to actually touch the up and down on it, and it's a little jerky going up and down instead of being a smooth flow. It's kind of, you got to work with your settings a little bit, because you can adjust settings where it makes it go a little bit smoother. Granted, it goes slower, but it makes a smoother transition. Now, so when you're going, if you try to go up and down, you're not going to get very far with it, because your camera's going to stay level when you do this. Now, when you go side to side, that's a different story. Now, a lot of people, like, well, I can go up or down to get that shot instead of tilting it. You come up like this right here. Well, I got a solution for that as well. Now this one, I'm not sure, I think the Katana has it, but this one doesn't. Usually there's a little screw that's right here for your, where you can mount it for a tripod or whatever. Well, this one don't have it. So I come up with a way of doing it. I actually drilled a little hole and found me a brass piece that come out of one of my old phone holders, that I didn't need no more. And I took it out and I glued it into this. You don't want to drill all the way through. You got to be very careful not to do that, because if you drill it all the way through, you're going to mess up the little grooves, and the drone won't fit properly. So you want to make sure you do not go into those grooves. You want to try to stay just below them, and of course it still will fit flush. Don't make sure you don't drill it out too much. You want enough to where you got to get a pair of pliers to kind of press it down in there. Because you drill out too much, it's just going to keep falling out, and it ain't going to do you no good. So you want to make sure that you have just small enough to where the ridges on the brass will actually do their job and snap in place. So I have that set up. But now for the question about, when people talk about doing, from down to up or up to down, it still can get shaky. A lot of people don't have that good a balance, and you're not relying on a gimbal no more. Now you're relying on yourself to balance everything. Granted, it's got electronic stabilization, so you're not going to be so shaky. But when you're trying to make a transition from up to down, or when you're walking sideways like this right here, you still see up and down, up and down. You know, it's hard to get that real smooth transition. So, set this down right here. So to go along with this, I've come up with another solution. This is also made by Star Trek. It's a 4th access gimbal. Okay, and it comes with all kinds of neat little tools. 3 different sets of springs to adjust the weight. You know, because you can use this for numerous applications, for DSLR cameras to micro recorders. You know, you can use anything. So it's got different setup for the springs. But you see how smooth you pull it out, and look how smooth it goes. Okay. So, and then you got this piece that you can stick in there, or you can get they make other different tripods that can actually fit in here as well. And what I do is take this and very easily hang on a second, I got it back. Like that. You don't want to do it too hard. You want to make sure it's easy but snug. Because you don't want to pull it, because even though you got that brass glued in, it will still pull it out if you snug it too tight. But as you see, this gives you a little bit more cushion. And instead of trying to go up like that, you spread it out and ease it in as you go up, or do the same thing as you go down. You easily pull out, and it helps give you that smooth transition. So you have 2 of these mounted together, and it, Greg, yes, it's a little bit of work, but what do you want to do to get that great shot? And this right here seems to do the job. It does have mount screws where you can mount optional gear to it, and on the bottom as well. This thing is fully adjustable. The tension you can adjust right here, you can adjust right here on the spring, and the handles you can adjust however you want to do it. It's all about what's more comfortable to you in your filming. But I'm pretty sure someone out there is going, well, there's setups that are a lot easier than having to go through all that, which I'm pretty sure there is. But for the amount that I paid for all this equipment to do it myself, I come out with a pretty good deal. Some people will like, well, you pay for what you get. Yes, that's true, but if you know how to improvise and make things work for you, it doesn't matter what that price is. In fact, if I was to tell you what all I have invested in this, you would not believe me. But for what I have, I'm very happy with it. I'm still getting used to, doing all the adjustments, getting everything adjusted properly for the weight. A lot of times they say to pull it all the way out like this right here for your best thing, but I don't know, I kind of like it like this, and I kind of make it flow how I want it. And it will stand up very good on its own. I'm kind of at an incline that's going backwards, so I want to be easy and not drop anything. Now, something else, some people will go with something like this. This is the DJI hood, okay? And this one actually just slides over your antennas, your stock antennas. And goes like that, and then it also has a magnetic fold up. Now, some people prefer a setup like this that has the side hooks for your harness, and you put your tablet in right here. Well, as you can tell, this isn't wide enough for a tablet. This is for a phone. But I just have it on here just for demonstration only. Also, if you notice, my control stick, I have little rubber knobs on there because it helps. The way I fly, I don't use my thumbs like a lot of people do. Uh, I learned a different way, and that's using your index finger and your thumb together to control. To me, I get better control that way. Then you have this option, the metal bracket that mounts in to hold your tablet, or you can also hold your cell phone, whichever one you prefer to use. As you tell, I have my Mini 4 on here, and I have the same thumbsticks on this controller as well, because these two are my main controllers. And I have the 16 dBi antennas for this one that come off and on. You can swap them out. This controller is a secondary. Now, there's some people out there that do not know this about the Mavic Pros, but yes, you can hook up a secondary controller, and yes, it will function as a secondary at the same time that you have your primary, which means I can teach someone how to fly with my Mavic Pro. I can tell them, well, here, you take this controller, I got primary. And while they're flying, if I see they're fixing to do something wrong, once I hit a button on this controller on the primary, it takes automatic control over the secondary controller. And at that point, the secondary controller is now in void unless I let go of it for a few seconds. Once I let go of it for a few seconds, then the secondary can take back over. On top of that, you can also use it the same way that the Inspire is worked. When you use two controls with the Inspire, you can have one that does the camera while the other one flies. So you have a primary flying while the secondary is operating the camera, which is kind of cool. For this application though, I don't see it. I think it's a little bit overkill. It's different when you're flying an Inspire that you can do all kinds of directions with it and everything else. And, because that's a professional photography drone, it's where you can use two controllers and not get in the way. Well, with this one, really the only options you have on your camera is up and down. So to only have that function on one controller is kind of a waste to me. Some people might see it as, well, one person can concentrate on flying and keeping visual line of sight while the other person's watching the camera and seeing what shots they want to take. And of course at that point, the person operating the camera is going to have to cooperate and talk to the person controlling the drone. So it's a lot of communication that's got to go on to run two controllers if you do it that way. Me personally, I see it more as an educational tool than using it in that form. Teaching somebody how to fly a drone for the first time, especially something like this, is great to have a primary and secondary controller. That way you can take control over that drone at any point in time with that first controller. And a lot of people don't know this, but that is a very cool feature about the Mavic Pro that some people don't know about. As you can tell, I do have two Mavic Pros. One, of course, this one right here was the first one I ever got, and the way I can tell is because the PCH across the the front of it there. This one did have the red and black decals on it, but I took them off because they were starting to peel a little bit. So I just took them off and left the PCH on the front, just so I can really be able to tell the difference in them. This one's the second one that we got, and my buddy Keisha's been using it. Well, the ribbon cable went out on this one when we went to do a job, and I had to do another job for a friend of mine, and I had to use the other one, so that's why I ended up with both of them right now. But I did get this one fixed, and this is the second time I've had to replace a ribbon cable in a Mavic Pro, and I'm getting pretty good with it. I almost had a disaster there. But this is what I get. This is what I've been up to. Just trying to tinker with certain things. You know, like with the 3D printer, I've been printing out my own stuff, trying to, but you know, I still got a lot of adjustments to do on it. And of course, I'm running out of filament, so I haven't been able to really mess with it much after I made the flotation device. Uh, One day I'll get out and I really can't do my pond because there's a lot of not trash, but trash as far as like leaves and branches and stuff like that. There's a lot of that in my pond, so I don't want to take a chance on putting my drone out there and a stick hitting it or something, you know. Uh, but when I do get a chance to get some clear water, I will try out the flotation. You know, I tried it in the bathtub just to make sure, which is always recommended. You know, make sure that it's going to flow properly and make sure you got it leveled properly, because you can slap them things on and have them too far forward, too far back, and it's going to shift the weight. And when it shifts that weight, your drone's gone. So you definitely want to test it in the bathtub where you got a hold of it and you can grab it real quick without it actually getting in the water. Uh, so this has been tested, and yes, it does float perfectly. Uh, it does kind of get a little close comfort in a way. Uh, you know, I'm still kind of sketchy with it. Uh, like having it in your bathtub's one thing, but when you're out on the water somewhere, that's still another. Uh, like I probably won't ever actually float it on the water. Now, if I actually do some flying out above water or something, I might have it on there so that way, at least I know my drone, if something happens, it's going to float. You know, that I don't have to worry about it sinking all the way to the bottom, and I can at least, you know, see where it's at because of the bright blue, you know, and I'll be able to know where to grab it. You know, if I get somebody off a boat or if I'm out on a boat, we can always turn around and get it. At least I know my drone is not lost. It might be water damaged, but at least it's not lost. Uh, in fact, you get to it quick enough, sometimes they are salvageable. My Phantom 3, it's been through the ringer. I mean, it went up in a tree 60 foot high, and it stayed up there for over a month through the rain, weather. I mean, I wouldn't expect it to work after it was done. I figured it was done for. I was able to finally get it down, and when I did, I didn't try to turn it on. I didn't try to mess with it. I took it apart, set it in front of the heater, cleaned all the contacts, made sure there was no water marks, no rust, nothing. Cleaned it real well, put it back together. Then I powered it on. And well, you know, it worked. Even the camera worked. The camera still had a little bit of water in it, like a vapor, but after a while it came out. Uh, and then I had a crash happen across the street where it landed out in a field, and it stayed out there for over a month on the ground in rain, mud, you name it. It went through it. Uh, I was able to do the same thing with it. I cleaned it up real well, brought it back. The only thing that happened to it was it threw the battery, which was never recovered. Uh, the gimbal broke in half, and then it broke one propeller, and that's it. I was able to replace all that, and it still works to this day without me having to change out any boards or send it to DJI for any cleaning or any type of repair work. All I had to do was fix the one propeller, you know, which Okay, you just slap another propeller on and buy a new camera for it. And at that point, I was able to upgrade the camera from an advanced 2.7K camera to a professional 4K camera. If you ever run across something like that and you got a DJI Advance and you find yourself in a situation where your camera breaks, spend the extra money and get the professional, because the professional camera will mount on an Advance and it is well worth it. All you got to do is update your firmware to an Advance instead of or update the Advance to the professional's firmware, and that's it. Once you do that, uh, other than that, that's pretty much all I have for today. Uh, if you have any questions about my setup or would like to know more about it, prices and stuff like that, feel free to contact me or leave a message or a comment, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can on that. And if you have anything else, just please let me know, and I'll do my best to help you out. This is Ryan Knights, and I'll see you guys later.